Friends, welcome back to NRI Samai. This is Srihari. We have Babu Gogineni with us. We are going to talk about humanism, kind of the superstition that we deal with on a regular basis, and how to go forward about it. Babu Garu, welcome to NRI Samai.
Namaskaram, Andy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So you have an organization. Maybe we can start there. It's called SAHA. Could you tell very brief about it and what you are working on?
SAHA stands for the South Asian Humanist Association, Andy. And it is an expat organization. It is based in the US, and it is looking to become friends with the secular, humanist, rationalist immigrants from South Asia. So Pakistan kaavachu, Bangladesh kaavachu, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan and India. These countries I just mentioned once were home to some of the great humanist rationalist traditions in history. Back home in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, it is impossible to defend rationalism while living there. అటువంటి పరిస్థితుల్లో ఆ దేశాల బయట నుండి అయితే ఇట్ కెన్ బి బెటర్ డన్ అన్న ఉద్దేశం. We want to revive the humanist rationalist tradition of the region. We want to provide services to those who are living outside their country now. ఉదాహరణకి non-religious weddings, baby naming ceremony.
The SAHA, just want to make sure we capture this. So, is there like a membership, or how do you form this network? If people are interested in what your organization is doing.
It is a network, Andy, and people who would like to be associated with us join the mailing list or shake hands with us. Humanism.Asia. That is where we have a provision for people to express their interest. Mostly we will be functioning as a think tank. Membership organizations chala untai kadandi. We do not want it to be simply one where we have elections once a year. We want to provide intellectual input and start initiatives. So first step low, anyone who is interested can join hands with us. And at some later stage, we will be, later until it's not longer than a few months, we will be offering leadership programs, science coaching, not simply teaching science, but developing critical intelligence and scientific temper, and offering, as I said, non-religious weddings and baby naming ceremonies. వీటన్నిటికీ మెంబర్షిప్ అవసరం లేదండి. ఎనీబడి హూ వాంట్స్ టు అవైల్ ద సర్వీసెస్, అండ్ దిస్ ఇస్ నాట్ ఎ బిజినెస్, దిస్ ఇస్ ఎ సర్వీస్ వీఆర్ ట్రైంగ్ టు ఆఫర్.
Excellent. So, what is the? I know you defined humanism on your website, but for the people who haven't visited, what is the difference between humanism or rationalism or atheism? From your point, or are they all same, interchangeable?
Broadly, they're all this side of the divide of reason and unreason. Anyone who wishes to call himself a non-believer may have a choice. If the emphasis for that person is God, and that person has concluded that there is no God, then that person would be called an atheist. Rationalism is an attitude of the mind. Rationalism values reason and rejects all arbitrary assumptions of authority. That could be political authority, that could be religious authority, that could be claims of revelation. Any rationalist, any atheist who develops values and considers an ethical approach to living would be called a humanist. So a humanist is an atheist with values, if you want. There are many atheists in human history. Not all of them have shown values. People like Stalin or Mao or Ho Chi Minh, these would be atheists, but they are not necessarily humanists. So atheists with values are humanists. Humanism is a philosophy of life for those who do not believe in a God. One would look at Gautama Buddha as one of the ancient humanists. And there are so many in the Greek tradition as well. So it's a long tradition of morality and ethics, which does not depend on the threat of an afterlife punishment or an oversight of a God whenever we are doing. That would be broadly the difference between atheism and humanism.
Excellent. On your website and also on your speeches, you give a lot of importance to the science aspect and following the science. Is science going to solve our issues, the important issues at least? When we look around, some of the, most of the pollution you can say is caused by byproducts of science. Like most of the issues, when we look at the Earth, where we stand today versus 200 years, maybe 300 years ago, there's a significant change. So how does science going to solve without this morality aspect or, the aspects that religion brings in?
That's an interesting question, Andy. I think we should be fair to science. It is science which tells us everything, including the destruction that is being caused. What is science? Science is a body of knowledge. We cannot blame knowledge for anything that is going wrong. If President Trump has said in this country that global warming is not happening, that would be the fault of the politician, not of the scientist. The regulators, the policy makers are responsible for what is negative in the world today as far as ecology is concerned. Science provides the means to measure and to correct the destruction that is happening. And if we look at the last 200 years, 300 years, we know that the Industrial Revolution caused a lot of pollution, caused a lot of human rights abuses as well. And the policy makers became more enlightened and it changed. So science is knowledge and it depends on people how they can use it, make use of it, implement policy changes. The failure is that of administration and of unenlightened rulers rather than science. Let's look at what science did for us, Andy. In the beginning of the 1900s in India, most people lived only up to 40 years. Today in India, 67 years is the average life expectancy of 129 crores of people. Now, 33 crores, 330 million were the number of people living in India at the time of independence. They were all hungry. Many were dying without food. What changed? How is it that today 129 crores of people, 1.29 billion people, are sleeping relatively less hungry and definitely well looked after in their daily needs compared to 70 years ago? It is science. People are living longer. It's because of hospitals. That is science. We have reached the moon. We went to Mars. That is science. So we should be fair to science and be grateful for what it has done. I'm talking to you using an instrument of science. There is no Akashvani for that. To live longer, we are not going to religion or praying in a temple. We are the beneficiaries of this body of knowledge.
Right. The second part of my question was about you said that science is knowledge, then how do we use it? Right? Is there a religious component or the morality component there on how we use science for some of the things you mentioned versus some of the things I mentioned?
I think that also is very interesting, Andy. there is an automatic assumption that religion somehow provides moral guidance to humanity. If that were true, would we actually need the Universal Declaration of Human Rights? It would be there in all the religious texts of ancient times. But in the ancient times, the religious texts are full of hatred and about how to kill someone. The Old Testament, the New Testament, the Holy Quran, the Holy Vedas, they all are reflections of the values of the times when they were composed or written or revealed to the others by humans. There's no mention of human rights. There is no mention of equality of humans. There is no mention of right living. How can religion be the guide for morality? No religious text ever has condemned slavery. I think we all know that slavery has been abolished by secular, rationalist, humanists who were working for human rights. No religious text ever spoke of democracy. Not even one religious text in any of the religions in the world has said that women and men were equal. Some of them said women were goddesses, but they never said they were human. And we see the consequences of such attitude. Women are some of the most deprived sections of humanity. The poorest, the most exploited. There is a caste system which is also a result of the assumptions of religion. Slavery has been supported by religious institutions. The church did it. The 10th commandment is talking about not taking your neighbor's slave. It doesn't say do not have slaves. It simply says don't take your neighbor's property. We have moved on from there. I think we should realize the contribution of religion to morality has been minimal, and what it has contributed was also contributed outside religion. If you simply look at our common moral decencies of telling the truth, being kind, being compassionate, these are sayings in tribal cultures which had not recognized or adopted religion. So these feelings predate the religious institutions and texts, which is why we see that in many members of the animal kingdom, similar traits are expressed at a lower level. You see elephants, you see tigers, you see lamb, chicken. They all have ways of behavior which let them be in harmony with the group. Their behavior is aimed at promoting the interests of the herd or the group. Now, our morality is our biological instinct. It has helped us live in the herd of humanity, which is what society is. It has given us direction. We don't need to look to religion for this. As I said to you, religion has not helped, in fact. Simply let us look at the 192 countries of the world. There is a Human Development Index. India is one of the most religious countries in the world. So is Pakistan, Afghanistan, Nigeria, Rwanda, Nepal, Bangladesh. And if we look at where these countries stand, they're all at 140, 136, 154 out of 192 countries. In these countries, women are not treated well. In these countries, human rights are a huge problem. Human freedoms are not available. Democracy is failing. How can we say then that in the most religious societies there is morality? So I would say we have to rethink these common assumptions. The greatest morality is that of human rights, human values, and universal humanity and identity. That we do not, I'm afraid, find in any of the traditional religions. If you have to find something of that kind in some religion, it would be perhaps in the Buddha's thinking. But beyond that, and the Buddha never believed in a God. He never himself established a religion. So this would be my response to your second part of your question.
Excellent. Also from your website, one of the sentences I'm going to pick up, it says, reject the notion that prayer will affect the universe. A lot of people see prayer as a way, prayer, faith, or hope as a way of, coming through some of the difficult situation they are in. And, it gives them comfort, it makes people happy. So what's wrong with that?
I think anyone in distress will try to find a means to overcome that. If you are ill, then you will look for a solution nearby you. But then we would not say going to the witch doctor is the best way of handling this problem, because the witch doctor will not make it better. The belief in the efficacy of prayer comes with more problems than the one I just said about illness and going to the witch doctor. Very often prayer is going to become a substitute for human effort, and that is the most dangerous thing. Then you can also become very fatalistic. Karmavada is one way, but it's there in all religions. When you say that God will do something simply by you asking for it, it excludes human effort, human intervention, and when you give up agency in human development, then we are into a deep, deep problem. Does it give some people some satisfaction? I am sure it does. But so do so many others. Some are chemicals, some are prayers. It doesn't make it right. And prayer also assumes that there is a supernatural, that supernatural is monitoring the wishes of the multitude of beings. And the impossibility of this is understood when you look at this universe as 9,000 crore light years large. That's 9,000 crore light years large, with crores and crores and crores of galaxies, each of them with crores and crores of suns or stars, and the billions of planets, out of which we are one. And we are a little speck of carbon thinking about this universe, trying to understand it. Do we really believe that there is some force out there helping us pass an exam or overcome a health problem? No. We have to look for the most logical, reasonable solution to our problem. And prayer rarely is that.
I'll tell one practical thing I came across just 3 weeks ago. I was at a hospital. Somebody had drowned, and then the doctor was trying to bring him back. They tried a couple of days. Then he was explaining the wife. He was the doctor. He was saying, we did everything we could. Now only God can help. And this happened here in California. Right? Then I was thinking, there's a lot of disconnect, right? Because he's the most scientifically educated person, one of the best doctors, and this is what he was telling. And then, then they were actually sitting in a chapel inside the hospital, and obviously he was telling they should just pray. So how do we connect these dots?
But the question is, was the child saved?
Say that again.
Was the child or the person who drowned, was that person saved?
No. It's not child, actually. It's the husband. He passed away.
Well, so we do have the ineffectiveness of prayer being shown here, or the heartlessness of God. We don't know. Yes, but perhaps you are asking, what about those highly trained medical professionals who have...
also suggesting there is a prayer component that they are suggesting. Maybe they cannot answer the question in an effective way, or they are saying maybe the prayer will console the person.
I think you would be right, sir. I think these are ways of counseling someone who is about to be bereaved or is close to a very tragic situation. But clearly, neither prayer nor science helped here. Science had a chance of helping. Prayer never has had one. And we should recognize the inevitability of certain things. If the doctor really believed that prayer would help, maybe he should have just switched off the life support systems and waited for some miracle to happen. But miracles never happen. By accident, some extraordinary things happen. And in our inability to think through things, we might attribute it to divine intervention. And of course, not everyone is able to think through things in distress. Even the doctor might have been in distress. The doctor is trying to save a human life, and when he realizes it is not possible, surely the doctor is under stress as well. The chapel is not there to perform miracles, but only for someone, as you said, to console oneself. If they find their consolation there, who are we to stop them? It still makes it ineffective. There are other ways of getting it, but these people have chosen this, and that is fine. It just doesn't make it right in the sense of effective.
About a year ago, I think I interviewed Samaram. I think you know him. He's also from Andhra Pradesh. He is an atheist, and one of the questions I asked, and in response he said all the atheists, at least his organization, they reject spirituality or yoga or meditation or anything that distinctly related to a religion. What is your opinion on these things?
Sure. I did not get the name of the person you interviewed.
Samaram, Dr. Samaram.
Oh, Dr. Samaram.
Yeah.
I would go by a doctor's advice on the effectiveness of any physical activity. If a doctor has found it to be effective, I would like to see the data. And if a doctor said no, I would also then like to see the data. For sure. The claims of yoga are multifold. I do not know which particular yoga this might be. There is the Bikram yoga, the hot yoga. That fellow is being pursued for sexual assault, and I'm not sure if he has been arrested or not. Obviously, you're not thinking of those people who are doing criminal activities in the name of yoga. If you look at the ancient yoga, it certainly was a religion. It was not physical exercise. Yoga has a notion of where the human life is, somewhere in those chakras and near your spine. Yoga has some claims which are extraordinary. For example, in the ancient text, you will see that if you perform yoga the right way, you will be able to transport yourself, as in movement, at the speed of human thought. Now, clearly that has no validity. It also says that you can, apart from flying in the way I just rubbished, apart from that, they also say you can understand the language of animals through practice of yoga. That also cannot be supported. If by yoga, the simple reference is just closing your eyes in a particular asana and doing what is called meditation, it perhaps is a harmless activity, but whether that has all the extraordinary benefits that are being claimed for it is really questionable. So many more people earlier than today would have been practicing yoga. How come by the turn of the previous century, people were living in India for only 40 years of age? Swami Vivekananda, one of the greatest practitioners of all yoga, he did not live very long. I don't think we should come to conclusions when doctors are saying it is not effective. It is clear that it is a very good stretching exercise. It is clear that what otherwise we are not able to do, we are able to achieve in suppleness of the body through the practice of many yoga exercises. But to give extraordinary powers fanciful powers to the exercise of yoga clearly must be rejected. It is not a substitute to going to the hospital, seeing a doctor, or eating healthily. One form of exercise amongst many, and to that extent, if it's not harming anyone, that's fine. But let's not claim it to be a system of medicine. That it is not.
There is when we check the scriptures, the holy scriptures of the religion, there is a literary meaning of what they say, and the intention behind it, what some people claim, and how people understand it versus how they practice it. Which one is more relevant to us?
Sri Harigaru, for me, no religious book is relevant. For me, it's not a question of interpreting at all or understanding. What is it there that is there in a religious book that is of relevance today? Not much. Society has changed so much. People living in the forest, in little communities, created notions from the notions they have of the universe and human society, created certain rules, regulations, and then they have codified them in law if they came to power. I don't see why I should be guided by that. Look, I have more inspiration from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights than all the holy books of the world put together. I have read the principal text. I do not claim to know the holy text of all the 300 religions that are around. But of the principal text, I have familiarity. And none of them can stand to these 2 pages of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Now, should we go to a book for any guidance? No. We should go by the aims and the goals of the welfare of humanity. And we must find the modern method.
Let me correct myself. The question, I think I got it wrong. So when we see the literary meaning of what the scripture says, and somebody like a pujari or a father, somebody might explain it in a different way versus how people practice it. When somebody like you are critical about the religion, what aspect are you going after? Or in other words, is there a difference between the practice and the practitioner? Do you see these differences, and are you challenging our practices, or are you challenging the scripture?
I am challenging the divinity of the scriptures. I am questioning its relevance today, and I am fighting against the practices that have come as a result of people either understanding or not understanding a book. This is the problem. The problem is that an excuse for an atrocity is found in the specious claim that it has been interpreted differently rather than as intended. Which is why I'm saying, why do I need a book to guide me? Human experience is the best guide. The principles of human coexistence on the world, they are well enumerated in the latest moral philosophy. The Holy Scriptures, as you describe them, as many people consider them, are interesting. They are a reflection of the thoughts, the aspirations, and the fears of those people who have composed or written them during their time. If we have to look for an updating of that, or if we have to look for a validation of that, I think we are spending our time in a futile pursuit. If we were to look at moral guidance for modern people, then we should look at latest moral philosophy, the rights documents, and human values. None of the great holy texts revealed by God actually proclaim the equality of humans, or of human values, or of gender equality. What inspiration can I get from them? If it is simply the performance of prayer rituals, by all means, let those who believe in that God practice them. I have no issue with that. I am not worried by any kind of religious activity which is not impacting human rights or human dignity. It's a matter of choice. I hope it would be a matter of informed choice. Very often religion is a matter of habit rather than thought. We know that Hindus give birth only to Hindus. Christians give birth only to Christians. In Muslim homes, only Muslim children are born. Why does that happen? That happens because religion is a matter of habit, indoctrination, and inheritance. But should it not be a matter of choice and thought? This is what I am suggesting we should do. Not depend too much on the holy rituals and the scriptures for general life, for civic life. If it is a guidance for religion and religious life, I have no issues with it.
I think there is some mistrust on rationalists in India or anywhere in the world as far as if they're going to, they're just to get the religion or religious people, and then, I'll read one of the questions I received from somebody, and I think it speaks to that. So here it goes. I think the rationalists and leftists are deliberately erasing the fine lines between faith and superstition and painting a picture of Hinduism of any variety except their own as monstrosity. It is misinformation intended to mislead and give a dire image to India. There is no change in real terms in the way Hindus lived in this country. A few incidents, outright crimes, are attributed to the entire community. This is as much a political strategy as a larger conspiracy. What do you think about this?
Yeah, there is one point which is important. The crime of one should not be attributed to all. There is no doubt about it, and I think that question makes that wise point. The rest of that question is very silly. Why would one attribute conspiracy? Why would one attribute intention? When somebody is going and saying, do not do this because doing this is actually going to harm you. Is that considered a conspiracy? It is advice. It is education. And only those who are hysterical about their religion react in that silly manner. This is objectionable when you attribute motive to a public service of education. As far as the other suggestion, look, he says this is against Hinduism. Why doesn't he say it's against all religions? Because he is defending his faith, his brand of faith. And let him do it, but not in this manner. Are we erasing the lines between faith and superstition? Oh, if we are doing it, why don't you, the believer, establish those border lines very clearly? Who is stopping you from establishing them? You have let every crime happen in the name of religion. And when that is pointed out, you say, oh, you are doing this and the other to my religion. The simple fact is, if we talk about India, the majority of the people are Hindu. There are many, many, many Hindus, probably the vast majority of them, who lead a happy, simple life. And there are a number of people who, in the name of that religion and on the strength of those innocent believers, are establishing businesses, are misleading people, are trying to gain illegitimate influence on the lives and the thoughts of people. Those people have to be exposed. Many rationalists defeat the arguments of the astrologers. This is one of their main jobs in the country because it's a huge, untaxed, unregulated business. Many astrologers fight Vastu, the claims of Vastu. The same Hindu who says our Aryabhatta was great because he discovered that the earth was round, in the next breath is very, very happy to support astrology, saying it is the great contribution of our rishis. Astrology requires the earth to be at the center of the universe. Aryabhatta requires the sun to be at the center. So it's a job of this man who is making this nonsensical claim to come out and say, I do not agree with astrology. I believe in astronomy. So it's for him. It's not for me. As far as the rationalists are concerned, they will, out of human solidarity and consideration and wanting to help fellow citizens from being exploited in the name of their faith, we will continue to point out that if the earth is not at the center of the universe, if the earth is a sphere, then astrology and vastu, geomancy, are wrong. They are false. They are fraudulent claims. People are making money out of you. In the US, I am told, many NRIs buy plots of land to build their houses, or when they buy a house in a complex, they want east facing, and they pay up to $75,000 in premium. Yes, it's their money, it's their choice, but that choice is not founded on fact. And we want to alert people that this is not the way you should waste your money. The choice is there. And this person also has said something about left wing. I'm not from the left. I am actually, if anything, I am somebody who criticizes communists more than anyone else. I'm interested in science. I'm interested in intelligent thinking and intelligent living. That is what wisdom is. So, as I said, we should not attribute the crime of one to all. There is no doubt about it. The rest of it is silly. And the fact is, rationalists are being killed in the country. Many of them, they're being threatened. There are cases filed against them all the time. Why do you think rationalists have an interest in getting arrested or killed or attacked? What is this conspiracy? What will they gain out of this conspiracy? Do you think that by criticizing Hinduism, rationalists want Islam to come forward? Criticizing Hinduism? No, rationalists, through their critique of society and social action, want society to be more rational. Why would a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian oppose modern life? There must be some reason. So if conspiracy must be found, it must be found in the actions, attitudes, claims, and allegations of those who are making these allegations.
I think you might know this incident. I think about 1 or 2 months ago, maybe a month ago. Mashal Khan from Pakistan, he was a student. He called himself a humanist. He was lynched to death because he was alleged of blasphemy. And I think that the Pakistan law, if somebody commits blasphemy, then there is a death. It could be a death sentence. So whether people kill him or it goes through the state, either way he would have, because the large percentage of people who were alleged of blasphemy were actually executed by the state. Right. So there is this aspect of it, and also probably there are a lot of laws against, like you said, the rationalists or even homosexuality is there's a death penalty in some countries, right? And when you think of these, obviously these stand out. But are there any other laws that should be, we should go after systematic changes that are needed right away? Of course, there is awareness component. You can make all these laws, but still awareness is important. What do you think about these issues?
Thank you, Harigaru, for mentioning and raising this very important matter. In 13 countries around the world, people who deny the existence of God people who reject the practice of religion are legally punishable by death. Pakistan is one of them. It can be the same in Iran. It could be the same in Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Yemen. The list can go on. There are 13 of those countries. You will also see that most of them are Islamic theologies or influenced heavily by Islamic thinking. Blasphemy is a terrible law. It is there in all religions, but when a religion comes to power, it makes sure nobody can attack it, and it will pass a blasphemy law. The church used to do it earlier. Wars have been fought between kings because of conflicting evaluations of their gods, and now the barbarity of the countries in the Middle East. But it's also a problem in a country like Indonesia or Malaysia. Having said that, I should also perhaps inform you that when Dr. Yunus Sheikh was in prison and condemned to death for blaspheming in Pakistan, I conducted a campaign for 3 years, and we got him out of Pakistan. He is somewhere safe outside the country now. So I have been involved in the fight to defeat the barbarity of blasphemy laws. Similar laws with less punishments exist in India. The hurt to religious sentiment is such a thing. They are all from Britain. These laws came from the British laws because we have the Indian Criminal Procedure Code, which comes from the 1800s when the British were ruling us. Those have not been adequately reformed and brought up to date. But England, which was the source of this law, has abolished the blasphemy law. But Bangladesh has not, and Pakistan has not, and India has not. All these 3 countries inherited their criminal procedure code from the British. The Danish government has agreed that blasphemy cannot anymore be a crime in their country. So countries are reforming, but especially our countries of South Asia are refusing to do so. They somehow think that criticism of a religious tenet or belief is detrimental to that religion. If they do that, of course, a few rationalists will be killed, and you have mentioned this tragic, barbaric murder of Mashal Khan, but let us not forget Farooq, who was killed in Coimbatore, I think 19th or 20th of March this year. He was killed for saying there is no God, no God, no God. This is somebody who simply stated his opinion. To say your opinion cannot be punished by death or given any punishment unless it is instigating people to violence, asking people to go kill someone. It cannot be made punishable. Unfortunately, that has been the situation. The king, the late King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia, he has announced, and in Saudi Arabia where there is no democracy, the opinion of the king becomes the law of the land when it is issued in the form of a decree. And the king declared that atheists were terrorists. Right. Now imagine that this is being said by the king of a country where for stealing a little thing or for any small theft, you will be punished by the hands being chopped off. This is a king who is presiding over a legal system where anything not allowed by their religion and which could simply be a relation, a physical relation outside of marriage, will be punished by a public execution. Now, one would think that those who want these kind of punishments are the real terrorists. But the king has said that those who deny the existence of God is a terrorist. So different countries, different levels of intellectual development and social tolerance have brought these unjust laws. We have to fight against all of them. In India, the courts have declared that an academic evaluation is not the same as voluntary insult to the sentiments of a person. Now, here is a legal point, and the legal point is this. Human beings have rights. Ideas do not have rights. Ideas cannot be given the protection of the law and keep them immune from any criticism or evaluation. That would be disastrous for society. Imagine that such a law existed in India, let's say 500 years ago. Then you would not have been able to reform the terrible nature of the caste system. The Bhakti cult would not have been possible to come. Vemana would not have been able to say what he did. Nobody would have been able to support Raja Ram Mohan Roy when he defeated the practice of sati. You see what I'm saying? Social reform and reform of religion brought about by religious leaders will also be stopped when we have laws like this. Unfortunately, such a law is also a justification for the mob to take into its own hands the implementation of that punishment prescribed by the law. So, as you rightly say, Mashal Khan would have been killed, if not by someone else, by the police. Many such things have happened. The fact is, in Pakistan, nobody has been, Ziaul Haq brought this law. Ziaul Haq brought this punishment for this crime, which was recognized in Islam. No one has been officially executed for blasphemy in Pakistan for two reasons. One, that's how fast the Pakistani legal system works. But more importantly, because these people are killed in the police station by the mob, or they are killed in the courtroom by other prisoners who have also come for trial, or they are exterminated in their prison cell itself. This is lawless land, and this is lawlessness, which is justified in the name of God and religion. So it's a terrible situation with new laws coming up, with new intolerance bubbling up. We will, I'm afraid, see more of these kind of injustices.
Yeah. In fact, we did a couple of interviews on that incident, and unfortunately, people who were the guests, they had to start with, some of them, how much they love Muhammad, and and even Mashal Khan, how much he loved. Actually, he never opposed. So they had to start with that, unfortunately. But I want to move on to the next one. Was there any window of opportunity for India during the independence struggle to eradicate caste, or at least the majority of it?
There are many, I think, who think that a law will eradicate the caste system. A law will have its limited utility anywhere. It would be through a movement of ideas alone that can happen. And in that context, there were two parallel things happening when India was fighting for political independence from the British. One would be the freedom movement, which was not necessarily linked with the independence movement. So people like Dirozio of Kolkata, the associates of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Bipin Chandra Pal, some of these people had a concept of an India that was not directly linked to the independence of India from the British. They were talking about social freedoms and equality. The great rationalists of Maharashtra, Agarkar, Phule, Lokhitwadi, these, the Gurjadappa Rao or Kandukuri, these were all people dreaming of an India or a society where human values prevailed. Obviously, where human values prevail, the caste system has no place. When Periyar, Dr. Ambedkar, in his later days, Tripuraneni Ramaswamy, all these thought leaders, and we can only name a few because there are so many. We had Narayana Guru, we had the rationalists of the age. They were all fighting for an India of freedom without caste. Now, was there an opportunity? Most certainly. But the Congress party was a party full of casteism. Congress party was the reason why the Justice Party was created. And the ones who opposed the dominance of certain castes in the system had to create their own political entity. And India lost the opportunity. Because since then, there has been no real consolidated, concerted effort to fight caste. Today, caste has become an instrument of politics, of vote bank politics. And that will mean that it will be extremely difficult now to get rid of the caste system. It is linked with the politics of the nation. We lost an opportunity.
And more specifically, while Gandhi fought for the political freedom, did he have an opportunity by still accomplishing the political freedom from India? Could he have done more with the caste system to eradicate, or maybe join with Dr. Ambedkar or somebody like that?
I see two questions in that. Should he have and would he have? Should he have? Most certainly, yes. He should have joined hands. He should have accepted the liberal, secular, humanist vision of M.N. Roy, of Nehru. He should have accepted the analysis of B.R. Ambedkar on what the caste system has done to the world. This, there is no doubt about. But would he have done it? No. Gandhiji had a concept of Hinduism which did not entertain untouchability, which was not a cutter, narrow religious view as we see in today's politics in India. But he had a Hindu vision. He believed in the Varnashrama. He also repeatedly said the task of the untouchable, the task of the latrine cleaner was a holy task. I don't see why this kind of language should have been used by Gandhiji. He opposed untouchability. He refused to go to temples where, especially where untouchables were not allowed. And towards the last days of his life, he said he would go to only weddings where intercaste marriage was being performed. He said he would never go to a wedding of a same caste couple. And Gandhiji's own son, Devdas Gandhi, Gandhiji was born Vaishya. He had his son married to Rajgopalachari's daughter. Rajgopalachari was born Brahmin. So he did see some mobility and some interaction amongst different castes. But he did not do what Dr. Ambedkar asked for, that we should fight the system that has divided the country. And you might remember Dr. Ambedkar so eloquently and simply said, he said the caste system is not a division of labor, it is a division of laborers.
Yeah.
And a society which can't be together in its social relations becomes weak. And that is what India became because of the caste system. And through SAHA, we are offering a challenge to the new supporters of the caste system who are now saying without any hesitation that there is justification from genetic studies. How can the caste system be justified by DNA tests when the DNA tests of humanity show that we all have a common mother who might have lived a few lakh years ago? All of us have the same mitochondrial DNA, which irrefutably proves that we are all the children of one woman whenever she lived, 2 lakh years ago, 4 lakh years ago, a new theory that first mother of all humanity was living not 2 lakh years ago in Africa, but probably 3.5 lakh years ago in Europe. This is the evidence that science is examining today. But this much is true. We all come from the same mother. That cannot be revised because the evidence is establishing that clearly. That kind of an understanding of our common humanity needs to be re-established. So we are offering this challenge from SAHA. We're asking all the celebrities in the country, look, the film stars in Telugu land, their fan clubs are all actually caste grouping. You like one particular film star because he belongs to your caste. All the members of that fan club somehow magically are from the same caste. We have politics being played in the name of caste. We want to invite the leaders of these groupings. We want to challenge the propagators of this understanding of the caste system to come and take the DNA test, to say and show that they have something in common with those of their own caste. They will be surprised by the result. They will be closer to a Siberian or a Nigerian much more than somebody who they think belongs to their caste. So we are offering that. We need to fight and defeat the caste system to make our country great again.
Many caste people, people who are following caste and people who are arguing for caste, they say, it's my personal business. Why, I don't need to listen to anybody. What is that? Or they might say, I'm not discriminating anybody. I just marry my own caste people and just hang out with my own caste people. What is wrong with that? So what is that they are missing?
Yeah, there's nothing illegal in what they're doing, and I don't think anyone is stopping them from choosing the person of their choice or a person from a community that they think they belong to. It's not about their freedom. It's about their belonging to human society. It's about their values that they hold. It's about the social incest that happens because of this manner of shall we say, choosing life partners to produce families. We know that on a large scale, when such inbreeding is practiced by a group, then that leads to certain genetic changes, and that brings the recessive genes out. And that's not good for the community that they say they belong to start with. But you can't say I will practice racial discrimination. It is my personal choice. I will not give a job to a black person, or I will not give a job to a white person. The law does not allow you to say that or do that. As far as casteism is concerned, there is no law of that kind. But if somebody is discriminating against someone, that becomes criminal. It might be of interest to your listeners that in the UK, the House of Lords and the House of Commons have been considering a legislation that outlaws caste discrimination. Because Indians, when they leave their homes and their homeland, along with their rich culture, great ideas, very often also carry their notions of unequal social hierarchy. That's the caste system. And many in the UK have claimed that they were discriminated against by their employers, by in their social circle. So slowly governments are recognizing that it's not as benign as is being described. Your friend who may have said, look, I'm just marrying the person I like. What do you have to do about it? Absolutely nothing. And there is no legal standing or any reasonable cause for anyone to interact when it's a free choice between the two individuals. But the fact remains that you are making a choice based on an outdated concept of what social grouping you belong to. It started once with your occupation, as generally is understood. Then how come Gandhiji got into politics? How come Gandhiji's father was into politics? They should have stuck to their own caste. How come Nehruji became, it's from a Pandit family. His father was a Pandit too. They should have been not in politics somewhere else. How come so many people are into software? Is software a new caste or what? They should have been in the caste of their birth. The fact is, life has moved on. And it's for our benefit that we should recognize the changed composition of society, the way in which human relations are organized. Worldwide, there is a movement to recognize casteism as a form of discrimination like racism. And in all aspects, except the one you mentioned about marriage to someone, that would be correct.
Okay, thank you very much, Babu Garu. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to say and anything that I missed asking? And I really appreciate you spending this time with us and going through a lot of stuff. Thank you. Is there anything else you want to add? Yeah.
A great pleasure to be on your talk show, Andy. And the one thing I would say is, for those who are looking at us like your questioner did, this is not about left parties, right parties. This is about civilization. What are the factors and the forces that helped humanity reach where we are today? What gave us human rights, human values? What gave us a common human identity? That is reason and science. Where did this come from? It came essentially from the human nature itself. Where did it originate? Perhaps in China and India, today's India, Bangladesh, Pakistan and Nepal. If you are living outside the South Asian region and you would like to be connected with your ancient heritage, but not only to be stuck there, but to move forward, to work on human values, to become modern people rather than be prisoners of ancient texts, then I would invite you to join us. Humanism.Asia is where we are inviting people to join hands. We want to organize and offer training programs for young people. We want to offer non-religious ceremony. We want to offer counseling for those who feel they have been victims of superstition. And we want to promote women's rights and defend them. And anyone wanting to benefit from these or contribute to these would be welcome. Many people go and build a temple in their hometown or in their village. We are encouraging you to join hands with us and build a hospital. If you want to do some good, join hands with us. Let us set up a few schools. Let us bring children outside the traditional context so that they become prepared for the modern world. Join hands and we'll be very happy to collaborate with you.
Thank you very much, Babu Garu. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.